Welcome back to the Double Leg. I'm one half of the show, Hey Picks. The other half of the show, the Parlay. Joining me in to recap some UFC Vegas 82. Let's get into it. Well, we had a ton of fights this past Saturday. Unfortunately, this weekend we will not have any UFC fights, but it was a good weekend for us. I mean, we absolutely smoked it on the premium picks. I went up 8.26 units, nearly swept the board on underdog. We went 7-1 there, hit a lot of big prop bets. Johnson by sub plus 600, Peyton Talbot round 3 plus 500, Hooper by sub plus 425. And then a couple other ones. I mean, you got plus 160 Johnson inside the distance, plus 160 fight to go the distance, Park and Machado. Seemed like everything was falling through for us. Just shoot it up and it's going to go through the hoop. And we almost, or we should have, cashed the Trey Ogden money line as well. We'll talk about that later. But you had a good night too. What are your big hitters?
Yeah, so I was up 5.42 units on the night. I just hit a lot of solid, like even money plays, slightly, minus 120, plus 110, plus 105, plus 260, plus 102, and minus 104. So, yeah, and I had, those are my biggest plays in the night as far as how much money I was putting on them too. So when you get those rolling, these little 0.1, 0.2 unit prop bets that don't hit don't feel as bad when you're cashing the big 1.5 and 2 unit bets. So, yeah, 5.42 units on the night. It was just fun, man. Like you said, everything was just cashing left and right. And when you get on a run like that, it's just so fun. Like I told you earlier, I didn't want the night to end. I wanted 15 more fights to keep trying to win that money. And to be honest, man, if Trey Ogden wins and they give him the win and Brendan Allen finds a TKO in round 3 besides instead of a submission, I'm up over 10 units easy. So, those didn't hit. It didn't end up mattering. It was still a great night and a hell of a lot of fun.
Yeah, if you want to get on those, the premium membership link is in the description for that. Every single UFC card every week for less than $1 a day. And then, of course, in the Discord, we got a bunch of other channels, NBA, NFL, NHL, all the good stuff in there. And then, of course, the picks are always available for the week, the one-timers by Friday. Not going to have them this week because there's no UFC card, but the following week, UFC Austin, of course, we'll be back at that. Obviously, coming off a big card, we're itching for fights this week. Unfortunately, we don't have any, but it's been a good run. Been a really good run for us. So we're going to go through all the fights on the card. We got 14 of them. We'll probably skim through a couple of them that weren't too, not much to say about a couple of them, but we'll go through them. Started off with the main event. Brendan Allen getting it done in round 3. Another rear naked choke for the guy against Paul Craig. That is 5 rear naked chokes out of his last 6 fights for Brendan Allen. I mean, the guy just gets it done by the way that he loves to do it. I mean, a lot of people, including myself, thought he'd probably get a TKO here, and he ends up doing it by the way he always does it, rear naked choke. Paul Craig, not a great showing for him. I mean, he got dominated, really. Just completely dominated. I mean, 2 of the judges, I think, in round 2 gave Brendan Allen a 10-8. And it wasn't really like Brendan Allen didn't feel a ton of danger. He almost got caught in that calf slicer, but he got out of it pretty quickly. Other than that, I mean, it was a pretty flawless performance for him. What'd you think?
Yeah, Brendan Allen's going to be a problem at 185 because he's showing his striking's getting better too. He didn't even have to show it against Paul Craig. And I think for me, I thought that this was going to be Brendan Allen trying to keep this on the feet because he's going to have such a big striking advantage in this fight. Not that Paul Craig's like the bottom of the barrel striker. Like he does have, somewhat of a striking background, but he just doesn't, it's just not what he does at the UFC level. So to see Brendan Allen follow him down into his guard and beat him up and dominate the fight from Paul Craig's guard, who we've seen guys like Jamal Hill get caught in triangles and then, TKO'd from there. We've seen him submit a lot of really, really good fighters. So for Brendan Allen to stay safe, to land damage, those elbows were nasty, and to ultimately get him submitted in the 3rd round was really, really impressive to me. Going forward, though, the middleweights, top 10 in middleweights, like there's a lot of fun fights for him. I know Roman Dolidze's got a fight now, but that's another fight where you got a good grappler and striker across from Allen. There's guys like Hamzat out there who don't have a fight, and nobody really in mind right now after he beat Kamaru Usman. And the Jared Cannoniers of the world are there too. So I think whatever he does next, it's going to be a big fight. It's probably going to be a fight that determines if he gets a title shot here in his next fight or two after that. And I can't wait to see what he does. I'm a Brendan Allen fan, man. This dude's fun to watch. He comes out and he looks for the finish every single fight. Just wish we would have found that KO for us in the second or third.
Yeah, it was I don't know if it was intentional, but it seemed like it was he wanted to prove a point or something. Like, just the most dangerous place you could be is Paul Craig's guard, and he was willing to take him down and play around in there, land some ground and pound. And like I said, didn't really face a lot of danger there. Paul Craig, I mean, he finds ways to win fights, but when he doesn't win fights, he always looks really bad. Like, he just looks really bad. So that's, I mean, he said before he's fine with just fighting off his back, but at some point it's like, it's not going to get you, to the top. And if he just wants to stick around, around the edge of the rankings, I guess he could play that way and he can find some wins. But moving forward, he's got to evolve the game in some place, or at least, not be so willing to just fight off his back. Cause you get to this level and these guys they're not going to fall for the traps. I mean, you said it before, he's gotten a couple guys, really high level guys with it, but I think the script is out. Like, if you're in Paul Craig's guard, you got to be 100% ready to defend everything. And even if you're beating him up, because that's another thing. Brendan Allen was beating him up, and we've seen him get beaten up off his back and still find it. And it was impressive that Brendan Allen was able to put him away in the fashion that he did. As far as for him moving forward, I think Marvin Vettori makes the most sense. I could see. I mean, Jared Cannonier doesn't have a fight, but I don't think, coming off a win, he's going to want to fight back in the rankings like that. Marvin Vettori coming off a loss probably makes the most sense in my eyes. Yeah. I don't think they'd give him Chimaev either. I don't think the UFC would do that. They know the star potential that Chimaev has. Why risk it with a guy like Brendan Allen? Brendan Allen's not the biggest star, but he is a hell of a talent. And I think he could go far in the middleweight division. Co-main event, Michael Morales, Jake Matthews. This one played out pretty much how I thought it would go. Michael Morales just landing the better shots, more impact on his shots. And the real complaint here for Michael Morales, and I know it's kind of nitpicking, is just he doesn't really go for the finishes. Like, I had the KO or by decision bet. It was -200, so I'm not like laying anything crazy on it. I'm not saying anything crazy, but he's willing to just stand there and pick you apart. And if he lands something big, he's not going to jump on you. And he's still undefeated. He's still young. But, I mean, moving forward, if you want to be a star in the UFC, you got to get finishes, especially in these big co-main event spots. I know you just want to pick up wins, but at some point, it seems like you got to, look for the finish a little bit more. What do you think?
Yeah, Michael Morales is obviously a good fighter. He's undefeated. He hits hard. But without the finishing ability, I don't even want to say finishing ability, but I guess in the fight last night, and even the fight against like Adam Fugit up until the third round, like, he shows that he's human and shows that he's beatable. Like, as he gets better, or as he starts fighting better opponents, rather, I think he's going to struggle against some guys that are really, really crisp strikers. I think they'll be able to touch him up because he does get touched. And, if he's not out here, taking advantage of some of his dominant positions and really looking for the kill and finding these finishes, if you leave some of these higher level guys around long enough, they're going to come into the third round. And, if you're just a little bit tired, they could put you out. So I think he is really, really young, obviously, still, though. And he's got a lot of room to grow, a lot of room to get better. And I think he will. But it's just, you watch him and I think you expect a lot more out of him than what we got last night, I guess. He fought exactly, how he needed to beat Jake Matthews comfortably by decision, but it just wasn't a performance that blew me out of the water by any means. And I guess I was expecting something like that. So, yeah, I think obviously, though, he's got a high ceiling, and as he starts getting better and polishing off his striking and his grappling, he'll be really good because the dude is he's an athlete. I mean, you can just tell he's very athletic. He moves well. He hits hard. I think he'll put it all together eventually, but I wouldn't be jumping to give him any of these, straight up savages anytime soon. I think you build this kid a little bit more.
Yeah, it's nitpicking. I mean, he still had a really nice performance against a guy who's
Yeah.
got a lot of experience, and he's got a lot of room to grow. I think he will. So, still a very bright future for him.
Mhm.
Just nitpicking there. Chase Hooper get it done round one sub against Jordan Levitt. Chase Hooper. I mean, I don't. It's not really a guy that I want to go to the ground with. Even if you're a wrestler, I thought Jordan Levitt, would maybe keep the fight on the feet a little bit longer. I know he's got wrestling is his strength, but maybe feel out Chase Hooper a little bit on the feet. He went right for the takedown, and then it was just scramble city from that point on. And Chase Hooper found himself in the right spot at the right time, gets the rear naked choke, and he's just a dangerous dude to be on the ground with. I mean, we've seen him pull off a lot of submissions, and he's just continued to get better. I mean, 6'1" at lightweight is still pretty big. It's crazy to think that he fought at featherweight. But yeah, what'd you think?
Yeah, I was impressed with him, and I always am impressed with Chase on the ground, though. It's not that he's like, I don't know, when he gets caught standing with guys and trying to strike, like in the Steve Garcia fight, Alex Caceres, even at times, it's like, that he still has a lot of room and a lot of growing to do in the striking department. But when guys go to the ground with him, like he is an absolute monster on the ground. And I know he looks young and he is young. He's only 24, but to be that polished in your jiu-jitsu, that young is a good sign for him. If he can just keep working on his striking and be able to just hang with guys on the ground or on the feet rather, and then once the fight gets to the ground, start dominating from there. I think he still has a bright future. I know a lot of people are low on him because he kind of had a big name. He came in, and at the time, I believe he was the youngest UFC fighter on the roster, or maybe even ever before Raul Rosas Jr. And he took some losses to Alex Caceres, Steve Peterson, Steve Garcia, who are all veterans and good fighters. And so people are starting to say like, this is the UFC rushed him too fast. Chase Hooper, they killed his career. But I don't think that way at all. I think the skills are there. Obviously, striking is going to be a work in progress still, but he's got a lot of time to start dialing that in. Like only 24 years old, has this many fights in the UFC. Like that's a lot of experience for a kid this young. So yeah, I was impressed with how he finished the fight too. Levitt obviously has been submitted before, like by Patty Pimblett and stuff, but Chase took advantage of it right away. And on the ground, we talked about it on the breakdown show. He's so long and his dexterity is so good that he can take your back so easily from the bottom. I mean, he's just so good at the transitions. He's slick with it, and I was super impressed with his performance.
Yeah, Jordan Levitt's a guy with good top pressure usually.
Yeah.
And Chase Hooper was just like making the guy super uncomfortable, throwing up arm bars, and just never really allowing him to like settle into anything. So impressive stuff. 24 years of age. Just think about when he's 30,
Yeah.
entering his prime. He's going to have a wealth of UFC experience. As long as he doesn't take, a lot of damage in the next few years, like he's going to be a real force to be reckoned with. Because right now, like I wouldn't want to go to the ground with the guy.
No.
It's obviously his wheelhouse, so I would stay away. Peyton Talbot, Nick Aguirre. This was a weird one because Talbot came in as a huge, like minus 800, minus 900 favorite. And after round one, he was down to minus 130. I saw it on the live betting and I had to take it, threw it in, and then comes out in round two. Aguirre's looking for the same stuff. But at that point, you're like, you could tell this fight's turning a massive way towards Talbot. Makes it to round three. Aguirre looks, tired and just not confident whatsoever. Talbot gets the rear naked choke. The bookies probably made an absolute bag off of that because
Oh
Peyton
yeah.
Talbot by KO was like minus 160. Everybody was expecting that. I don't think he'd had a submission win on his record before that, and showed a nice little thing in the game there. Take the back, get the rear naked choke. What'd you think?
Yeah, so I got things that I like about Talbot from last night and things that I don't. And I'll start off by the things that I don't is he just seems very lackadaisical in there and just very almost too calm and composed. You know what I mean? Like the
Yeah.
takedown shots, it's almost like he didn't see him coming at all. And he should have because he knows exactly who he was fighting. But yeah, he's almost stands a little too tall at times, especially if you're fighting a grappler. And he almost seemed just a little like he didn't care too much, especially early in the fight. But the thing that I do like about him though is his ability to fight deep into fights like the second and third round, which is exactly why I know you were on the late finish. That's exactly why I took him to win in the second or the third round, just to win too. I almost took the straight up KO or TKO prop, but it wasn't a big difference in that and just finishing. Um, Another thing that I did like is that he has all these KO and TKOs on his record late in the fight, and he's able to go out there and submit a grappler. Like that shows you that this guy is a pretty well-rounded fighter and has been working on his game. He's rounding it out and probably does have a bright future still, but he's really got a oh man, I don't even know. I want to say like press the urgency or come out a little hotter, but obviously what he's doing has worked for him so far. He just, I guess, needs a little bit of time to get going. He was taken down pretty easily. I thought his get up game was going to be better. We've seen it be better in the past, but maybe this UFC level, just not going to be as easy for him. And maybe he's going to have to start working on that takedown defense just a little bit more because he had me a little bit nervous there in the first round. I'm not going to lie, but his ability to come out, still had good cardio after a whole round of grappling like that, paid off for him because Aguirre was just tired as hell. And Peyton Talbot started teeing off on him late in the fight, went to the ground again and got the sub. So it all worked out in the end.
Yeah, it looked like a lack of urgency, I would say. Like round
Yeah.
one, he gets taken down. It didn't really look like he was, trying to get to his feet too much. It looked like he was just kind of waiting it out. And if you watch the film on the guy, look, I mean, he can get taken down, but he'd usually pop right up. It wasn't like a real concern for me. If he gets taken down, he'd be there for a whole round. So that was a little alarming, but yeah, I mean, he's still pretty young in the game too, only 7 professional fights. So
Right.
I still think he's got a bright future, but yeah, we'll see. I mean, moving forward, you probably got to match him up with a guy that's maybe a little bit better than Nick Aguirre, but like not that much better if you just want to build the guy. So yeah, Amanda Ribas, round 3, spinning wheel kick to the face against Luana Pinheiro. It looked like round 1 she was gonna get knocked out. I mean, her face was welted up after 1 round with Luana Pinheiro, who swings bombs, and she never knocked her down or anything, but she was laying it for sure. Ribas made some adjustments, and then in round 3, you could tell. I mean, Pinheiro has shown she'll kind of fade towards the end of the fight, and Ribas just put it on her. And with just a minute or 2 left, she put it on her in a big way, spinning wheel kick. That was beautiful, and then put her out with the ground and pound. What you think?
Yeah, I think Luana's main mistake was that she just came out too aggressive. And I mean, I like when fighters come out aggressive. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes it pays off, but last night it seemed like she kind of, just tired herself out looking for those big shots. She was loading up on everything, swinging everything with ill intent. I think she probably had it in her mind that Amanda Ribas has been cracked a lot. Maybe she's got some chin issues there. And I think Luana came out thinking she was just going to put her away early. But Ribas is a vet, man. She fought exactly how she needed to get past that, weather that storm, and just kind of took over. And yeah, third round TKO. And the way she did it was very impressive. I think she needed that because, you're coming off the loss to Macy Barber in that fashion. Um, you know, if you want to run at the title, you're going to have to put together, it's now or never for a girl like that. And to make a big statement here puts her in a good position for her career going forward because she's lost a lot of fights in the UFC. So this is one I think she needed here, and she got it done. I was impressed with that finish, though. It was fun to watch.
Yeah, and I think 115 is probably the better option for her. I mean, she looked
Definitely.
pretty big there compared to Luana Pinheiro. So yeah, I mean, she's right there in the strawweight race. The debuting Mitabek Orolbai getting the round 2 submission against Uros Medic. And the guy, I mean, I hated watching it. I'll just be honest because it was not fun to watch. Just takedown after takedown. Medic would get up, take him down. But it was very effective. And it sounds like he's going to move down to 155. And at 155, if he could do that at 170, imagine what he's going to do at 155. So the guy looks like he could be a real problem. What do you think?
Yeah, he's definitely going to be a real problem. And just the grappling abilities and the knowledge and the skills on the ground, you could tell are there and they're sharp. You know, Uros Medic is not a grappler by any means. He's a striker and he's a damn good striker, but he does have UFC experience and he's fought in some really good fighters. He's fought in Jalen Turner, and he's had a lot of time to work on the takedown defense in the ground game. And this UFC newcomer, that not a lot of people have heard of. Like if you're a diehard and you watch the LFA and some of these lower level entry, UFC feeder promotions, like you probably heard his name or watched a fight or two of his. But if you're a guy that just watches and doesn't really look too much past that, and you saw this guy come in there last night and do that to Medic, you're probably shocked, honestly. I was super impressed with him. I think moving down to 155 on a full camp for him, first of all, he's going to be big for 155. Like he looked pretty good at 170. You mix in that size with his grappling abilities and wrestling abilities, he's going to be a problem. And on the feet, he can strike too. We didn't really get to see it much against Euros, but if you watch his film, the guy can crack. He has power, and you mixed in that grappling game with it. He's definitely going to be a problem and a guy to keep your eye on going forward, especially at 155.
Yeah, he's fought at 155 before. That's where he started his career. Moved to welterweight in 2021. Didn't really have a problem there. And moving down to 155 is going to be somebody that I'm sure a lot of guys won't want to get in there with because it looked miserable for Uros Medic. I'm sure he just wanted to be on the feet striking because he had him hurt there in the first round. And I thought he might be able to put him away there, but takedowns and that's all gone. So Joanderson Brito and Jonathan Pierce, the boy Brito coming through round 2, ninja choke. Didn't see that one coming because Brito was looking like the fight was, kind of getting away from him. At that point, Jonathan Pierce was on top for a while, and Brito finally gets back up to his feet, throws it in. It's locked in for sure, and Pierce taps pretty quickly. So big performance for Brito. I think you should get a ranked opponent next. What'd you think?
Yeah, this is our free play of the week on our Double Leg Instagram, and just a way more dangerous fighter than Jonathan Pierce. Pierce is good, but he's got great wrestling, and when he gets fighters to the ground, I'd like to see him do more damage or try to advance position or move into mount more and work from there. He just doesn't. I think he's probably. Oh man, I don't even know where you go from here with him next. Like he was on a great win streak, beating some good guys, but when you start fighting these higher level guys and the more dangerous guys like Brito, it's just going to be hard to get wins controlling dudes for 3 rounds. Brito on the feet was going to be the better striker. So if it stayed there, he's screwed. Brito on the ground, dangerous as all can be with the submission game. So if you implement your game plan like he normally does, you're going to be in danger of getting submitted. And that's exactly what happened. I was very impressed with how Brito locked that in so fast, though. And once it was locked in, there was no chance of getting out. That's got to be one of the hardest chokes to get out of in all of mixed martial arts because you don't really have anything to grab to pull down. But it was so fun watching that happen because I thought our bet was toast. I thought we were in the can, and he pulls it out of nowhere. So, yeah, it was a good cash.
Yeah, it was like my live reaction to it was like, shut up. Like, there's no way he's going to pull it off right now. And he did. It was awesome. It was awesome. But, yeah, for Pierce, it's like he can get away with using his striking against, not guys like Joanderson Brito who hold a lot of power. And he can strike with some guys and mix it in. But against this level, it's like it's an obvious flaw. So,
yeah.
There it is for Jonathan Pierce. I put on my Instagram, I think Bill Algeo is a good matchup for him next. Algeo coming off some good wins, probably going to look to fight a guy who's near the rankings but not quite in it. I think Jonathan Pierce coming off the loss, being in that spot is a pretty solid matchup.
Yeah.
Jose Johnson, I always do that. Jose Johnson and Chad and Hellinger. This was the sweat of the night for me because I had a lot riding on Jose Johnson. Had him on the money line inside the distance and by the sub plus 600. It looked like it might have been there round 2. Time runs out, goes to round 3, and then gets it done with 11 seconds left. I will say though, I'm a little pissed at Jose Johnson because on my underdog slip, I needed the under 12.5 minutes of fight time, and that was the only one that didn't hit. So I'm a little pissed at him. But I can't be too pissed because it still got it done for me. Still cashed, plus 600 and the inside the distance. So good stuff from Jose Johnson. Obviously, the takedown defense is a liability, still a liability, but found a way to battle through it and get a win. What do you think?
Yeah, sweat of the night for me as well. I had this fight to end inside the distance. And, halfway through the fight, I didn't think Chad Anheliger was going to get finished. I thought he was going to be too tough. He's too scrappy on the ground and slick. It's like he's hard to hold down. He's hard to, submit. So when I saw him lock that in late, I was jumping up and down because I thought that bet was toast as well. Ends up cashing. I like Johnson though. A lot of people don't just because of some of his performances, but the guy's dangerous on the feet. He's so big for the division too and long, and his striking's fun to watch. He was hitting Chad with some really good shots as well. But when they got into the octagon against each other, and you watch them looking at each other face to face, like the size difference was so evident. Jose was just towering over him. So I figured Jose would get the win if he just did everything right and didn't make any mistakes. And he didn't. I was impressed with his ability to fight into the third round like that. I think sometimes, good strikers like that in some of his past fights, he kind of comes out a little too aggressive, and then his opponents kind of work themselves back into the fights against him. But didn't need it this time. Third round gets a submission. Very impressive to do that later in the fight against Ann Hellinger, who wasn't that tired and was completely game and ready to go to war in that third round. So I was just happy he ended it inside the distance. Wish it was a little sooner so he would have cashed yours too. But overall, at least we got some money out of it.
Yep. Next few fights I don't have a ton on. CLD getting the round 2 KO against Dennis Talulin. Pretty much what we kind of expected there. Talulin came out hot, but turned into a punching bag eventually.
Not impressed with CLD for me.
I'm not either. I mean, that's a guy he should obviously beat, but yeah, I mean, it was a nice finishing sequence.
Yeah.
But other than that, it wasn't like anything crazy. You got anything else on that one?
Just that, for Dennis Talulin's got not the best takedown defense and he gets dominated on the ground. CLD could not make him budge off that fence in the first round. It was very boring first round.
Yeah, he's an obvious striker, so the wrestling's not gonna be good. Showed in that one. Mick Parkin, Kyle Machado. Don't really want to give this one too much of our time because it was just atrocious to watch. Didn't like either guy. The bright side is I cashed the fight to go the distance, plus 160. I thought it was the right bet, and it cashed. So, got anything on this one?
Tom Aspinall's probably sitting at home thinking, "Come on, you got to give a better account of yourself than this." After I just won the belt, but no, that's all I got, man. It was just one of those fights that weren't too interested in.
Yeah, greasy. And then the next one, I was like, I don't think Jekka Sergi is that good. I don't think he's UFC level whatsoever. I'm thinking, I'm watching this or looking at this fight before it happens. I'm like, the only way Jekka Sergi wins is some fluke KO. And then, of course, he goes out there and does it. So that's MMA. Like there is always a path to victory. The fluke KO can happen. There it is. Because before that, he was getting pieced up. Alexander just gets caught. There it is. But I don't have anything else on that one. You do?
Jekka's just got he's got the regional scene power, and UFC level, he should not be able to put guys out like that because guys are going to be too defensively sound. Lucas Alexander, stop turning your back. That's the only reason he lost that fight. So he turned away from him, started running backwards. When he turned around, he caught that right hook. So
yeah,
that's all there is.
Eileen Perez getting it done by decision against Pudilova. Dominated the first 2 rounds, and then nearly got finished in the third. I'll just be straight up. But yeah, I mean, not a ton to say on this one. I kind of expected that from Eileen Perez. Muscle her up early, and then cruise to a decision victory. Got anything on that one?
Yeah, nothing. She did exactly what I thought she'd do. I thought she'd be too physically strong for Pudilova. Just Eileen gets a little tired though towards the end of fights. She's gonna have to watch that as she starts fighting better competition.
Yeah, I mean, I think she cuts a lot of weight. She missed weight the first time, and then she made it eventually. And then she also had the black eye before going into the fight, which is a whole nother thing. But yeah, I mean, she's a solid wrestler. We don't really see too much of her on the feet in a lot of her fights, but yeah, she's strong. She got good takedowns and good top pressure.
Yeah.
So she can get you down. That's her wheelhouse. Nicholas Mata, Trey Ogden, the controversy of the night, which I don't think is really much of a controversy because most people would look at that and say, Trey Ogden won the first 2 rounds, arguably had the choke in, and the ref stops it. I mean, it wasn't a great stoppage because the guy he's defending the choke with the hand, and he's supposed to give a thumbs up or something with the hand he's defending. But I don't think he's getting out of that either. And then another thing is it's round 3. You end it with a premature stoppage or whatever. Which I'm guessing if it's a premature stoppage, I guess you can't go to the scorecards. if it's like a headbutt or something, or like a knee to the nuts or something like that, you can go to the scorecards. But I guess if it's a premature stoppage, you just can't go to the scorecards. So there's that. Trey Ogden hopefully gets his win money, but he clearly won the fight. Won the first 2 rounds, was winning the third. Probably had the submission locked in if you just let it go a little bit longer. But tough one for him, and tough one for us because our bet doesn't cash. But what'd you think?
Yeah, the shittiest part is that, he did everything right. He was dominating the fight. I mean, I looked up the numbers after the fight, and he outlanded Mata 96-18 in the striking department. He had 3 takedowns in a whole round of control time, 5 minutes. So, yeah, I mean, it sucks because the ref stops it and you get a no contest out of a fight that you clearly won any way you look at it. If the ref doesn't stop it, he's either getting submitted, going to sleep, he's getting out of the submission, and Trey Ogden's in mount and probably going to either cruise to the decision victory or TKO him from mount. So there was no way that Trey Ogden loses that fight besides a DQ or I guess he gets now a no contest on his record. Like it just sucks so bad, especially if you're betting on him like we were. That was a great plus money bet on a slight underdog. That's as good as it gets. I mean, the whole fight, he was just cruising to a victory. Mata slowing down a little bit, had a good, first minute of the second round, but other than that, Trey was just jabbing him to death, grappling him, and doing everything he could to get the win, and he was going to, so it sucks.
Yeah, beat him in all aspects. I mean,
Yeah.
on the feet, he wasn't getting hit at all. Like Motto could not land a strike to save his life, which was kind of crazy because kind of thought Mata would maybe have the edge in the striking in this one, but Trey Ogden looked pretty dang good.
Yeah.
First fight of the night, Estevam getting the win over Charles Johnson. Looked good in the first 2 rounds and then gassed in the third, and Charles Johnson takes over. Couldn't get him out of there. Estevam takes the dub. What you got on that one?
Yeah, I was on Charles Johnson for exactly how that fight played out. I figured Estevam was going to be very good to the first round and a half, and then Charles Johnson was going to take over. It just didn't happen soon enough for me. Like it happened in the third round. It didn't happen really in the second round until the end. So I think if Charles Johnson comes into the second round and stuffs the takedowns right away, and that fight in the second round plays out on the feet, I think he beats his ass for the last 2 rounds pretty easily on the feet, and we cash an easy plus money play with a possibility of a late round finish in the third. So Johnson just didn't have the finishing ability. I'm sure he was tired too from trying to defend and then just having a guy with the top pressure like that throughout the first half of the fight. But I wasn't mad at that loss at all because, like I said, the fight did play out kind of how I expected it to. It was just too little, too late.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the numbers, you'd probably say, improvement by Charles Johnson on the takedown defense. Estevam went 3 of 22, so 19 takedowns defended by Charles Johnson. But, I mean, he lost the first 2 rounds based on his takedown defense. It's like every Charles Johnson fight, he's getting pressed up against the cage or he's getting taken down. He's just getting controlled. I mean, moving forward, like he's just got to do something about that because you can't just give up a round or 2 and expect just can't. So yeah, I mean, I thought maybe he'd look better in this one, or at least be able to keep it at distance early, but it wasn't. So there it is.
I don't know if there is a future for Charles Johnson in the UFC. I don't know what they keep him around for at this point.
Yeah. I mean, flyweight's not the deepest division, so it's probably not. I don't know if he gets cut after this, but I think he'll probably stay around for a few more, and we'll see. We'll see. But that's the recap. UFC Vegas 82. Moving forward, like I said, no UFC this weekend. We got a PFL card. I'll for sure be having some plays, so you can check that out at HI Picks on the medias. We'll throw them in the double leg premium as well. So if you're in the Discord there, they'll be in there first. But anything else before we close out the show?
Yeah. Next time we'll see you guys will be Austin, Texas card, which is an absolute banger. There's gonna be a lot of fun fights on that card. And we get another week of fights and then into UFC 296, which is going to be massive.
Are you gonna play put any bets on PFL?
I will. I'll have something. We don't have UFC to cap, so I'll have all the time in the world to be looking over this PFL card. So I'll definitely have a card out for it.
Okay, cool. Where can they find that?
At all social medias at the Parlay MMA.
All right, cool. if you cashed on this past weekend, congratulations. Hopefully we can keep that moving forward. At the double leg, signing.